in terms of doing something now, everything that we need to do is on such a massive scale. Like, do you know of, I mean, from your research for what you're doing at the moment, do you know of scalable actions or interventions or whatever they are that could potentially avert an absolute crisis?
Yes, I think the main scalable action that can do it is this direct air capture. We're not going to reduce our emissions. I mean, the curves of CO2 levels show that the human race is incapable or unwilling to do that. So we're going to be heading straight into disaster unless we actually do something very radical. And the radical thing that doesn't involve the human race becoming more Puritan and holy and upright in its actions is to say, well, you can keep on producing this stuff, but you can also pay through your taxes massive amounts of money for it to be taken out again by this method of direct air capture. The groups who are doing work with carbon emission, with carbon capture, reckon you can do it to scale because, firstly, there isn't any new science involved that we don't already know. I mean, it's in fact we've known about taking carbon out of the air for 80 years. That the technique of absorbing it onto amines was developed 80 years ago for use in submarines, and so it's the technology, the science is known, the technology is there. The problem is still that it costs too much to do, and the estimate is if you take it out of the air, it costs about, at the moment, about $200 a tonne, and we want to get it down to $40 because that's calculated to be the amount of damage done when carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. It's probably an underestimate, but still nobody's going to do mass production of CO2 removal systems until the cost goes down below 40. But that's not a big drop. If we consider, for instance, the cost of solar energy, that went down by 99% in the last 10 years, which turned it from a technology just used to charge up your calculator battery to being something that's probably the cheapest form of energy, because enough money was spent on the technology of making that work better.
Yeah.
And so the same can be done. If enough money is spent on research, R&D of the technology of CO2 removal, it's easy to see how it can be gotten down from $200 to $40. And so that can be done. There's no new scientific principles involved, so it's simply a matter of will by the world to say we're going to put our energies into this aim, taking CO2 out of the atmosphere. We know how it's going to be done. We just spend our money on improving it to make it a cheaper method, and it can be done. And it's not going to cost more than, it's going to cost a huge amount, but in relation, for instance, to military budgets, it's quite small. It's cheaper than I thought. When I first looked at the problem, I thought, well, this is the answer, but it can't be done. It will cost too much. But when you look at it, the costs are actually not that gigantic in relation to the human disaster that's going to happen if we don't do it. So I'm quite optimistic that it can be done, and the question is, are we intelligent enough to do it in time, or are we so stupid that we won't really build up a global system until it's too late, until the CO2 levels got so high that it's causing a disaster that will wipe out civilization. So we can't then bring it down because we won't have any technology left, or civilization, or cities, or people, or anything. So that's the question. It's a race.